Hey everyone, it's 9:41. Welcome back to Great Day for this Thursdays, and Thursdays mean it's time for Roske on Politics. Oh, it sounds official. Welcome to Roske on Politics.
That was a new music sting.
Cool or what?
You never know what you're going to get on Great Day.
The love theme from Roske on Politics.
We were here, now we're here.
Yeah.
How about that? So what do we have today, young man?
What's happened in the fairly recent times here in Iowa politics? Hillary did her big trip, and that was the big thing. You saw on that episode of Roske on Politics, you saw me chat with David Axelrod and former Governor Chet Culver that same day. That's the thing that, I was told before I moved here that, in fact, once the race starts heating up, you can go to 2, 3, 4 things in a day. Mm-hmm. In fact, is the case. I was with Mount Vernon, at Mount Vernon with Secretary Hillary Clinton, and then David Axelrod and Chet Culver down at the Culver Center at Simpson College for his new book called Believer. And then the following week, we showed a little bit of Donald Trump, and we showed that last week here on Great Day. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Hillary Clinton's possible challengers. Okay. Now, the rest of the Democrat field doesn't get quite so much of the spotlight as the Republicans, because, look, the Republicans are playing to win, and there's a lot of people playing in the game right now on that side of the fence. Right. When it comes to the Democrats, the Polk County Spring Awards dinner just happened. A guy named Rick Smith just won their Volunteer of the Year award, and some other things went on that night, and it was a very nice dinner. But they had two featured guest speakers. Former Senator from Virginia, Jim Webb, and former Governor of Maryland, Martin OMalley. Okay. Both of them are still in what's called the testing the waters phase of thinking about running for president. Now, here's something that's a little interesting. When I ran for Congress, the rule is once you spend or bring in $5,000 on a campaign, then it becomes real.
Then it's a real campaign.
Then you need your official. I forget the titles, but you need these people or other people to proxy in to say okay, and you have to fill in all the paperwork and.
So what's the testing of the water phase then? Which part is that?
It's that $5,000.
It's that $5,000.
Now here's the thing. So how do you justify several trips to Iowa back and forth and not hitting that $5,000 barrier? Well, what's interesting about it, there are cases before the FEC right now from 2012. It's not a very. I've been told that they lack funding, they lack people, so it's not exactly like a parking ticket. Right. They're not necessarily going to come get you, but it's one of the things that I've always been curious about, and you've definitely seen it in this election cycle so far, that people have pushed and nudged that testing the waters thing. Two of the folks in that right now, Jim Webb, Martin OMalley. I got to chat with both of them one-on-one. You're about to see a room that no other press was allowed in at the Polk County Spring Awards dinner. This was the private meet and greet beforehand, and you'll see we're going to show Jim Webb first, and I believe you see Martin OMalley in the background. But prominent Iowa Democrats, me chatting with Jim Webb. Welcome back to Roske on Politics, here with Senator Jim Webb. So the Polk County Democrat dinner is tonight. Why was that so important for you to attend tonight?
Well, we wanted to come to Iowa, and we got an early invitation and decided with the schedule that we were putting together, this was a good place to be. We're actually spending 4 days in Iowa. We started on Council Bluffs yesterday, and we'll be in several different areas here until Sunday afternoon.
Now, talk to us about what is the role of the Iowa caucus in the national conversation?
Well, I think everybody knows that here, you set a tone that the rest of the country is watching, and this is a very sophisticated state when it comes to politics as well. It's a good place to start and a very challenging place to start.
Very challenging. Okay, that's interesting to say that. How does campaigning here differ from the races you've participated in the past?
Well, I'll let you know. When I was here last August campaigning for a number of the candidates, and I was very impressed with the level of understanding of national issues in the meetings that I was in.
You've been in Iowa several times. What is the tone of the Iowa Democrat right now?
That's a bad question for you to better address to the Iowa Democrats. I think that the overall sophistication of people here is pretty sophisticated.
Whether or not you decide to run for presidency or not, let's set that aside. What sort of leader do you think America needs right now?
You need somebody you can really trust. It's going to tell you what they really believe, what they want to do, and not be positioning themselves based on polls and those sorts of things.
Senator Jim Webb at Polk County Democrat Spring Dinner. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So obviously that was Jim Webb. One of the other folks that spoke that night is former governor of Maryland, Martin OMalley. Now, Bernie Sanders is still talking about possibly running. Mm-hmm. What I learned, which was interesting, Bernie Sanders is an independent. He caucuses with the Democrats. So a lot of folks, a lot of Republicans and even independents consider him a progressive Democrat. Well, he's not. He's an independent. So much so that some of the folks in Iowa Democratic Party were like, hey, if that guy wants to be at our dinner, he's going to have to make some overtures. Like, if I run, I'll do it as a Democrat, etc.
Okay.
I think, and I'm certainly not speaking for Senator Bernie Sanders, but I think one of the challenges that he has come up against in thinking about how to run a national campaign is, when I ran for my Congress race in California, it was as an independent, and you learn that the two parties, their biggest thing they do is they activate voter bases. That's what you're doing. That's what you're participating. So all that to say that Senator Bernie Sanders was not at the Polk County dinner, but Governor Martin OMalley was, and here's my private chat with him. Welcome back to Roske on Politics, here with Governor Martin OMalley. Back in Iowa, welcome back.
Hey, thank you, Brent. Good to be with you.
So tonight, a big event here, the Polk County Democrat Spring Dinner. Why was this so important for you to be here tonight?
Well, Tom Henderson, the party chair, invited me, and I've been coming to, I was very much in Iowa through the midterm elections and getting to know a lot of the leaders here in your state. And Polk County, I mean, you have to come when the chair invites you to Polk County. And so it's an honor to be here, and I'm going to be sharing our story and really talking about the story we have the ability to write as Americans, namely the next chapter in America's story. And so I'm looking forward to it.
So, former governor of Maryland, if you had to compare the tone of Maryland Democrats to Iowa Democrats right now, what are you sensing out there?
Well, this is what I'm sensing. We had a rough midterm, and I think most of us have come to the conclusion that we didn't do a very good job about talking about the things that we're doing well and the problems that we still need to tackle. The biggest one being that wages have actually declined over the last 12 years instead of going up. And that's the first time as Americans we've seen that happen since the Second World War. So while our country's doing better, while we're creating jobs again, while we're no longer on the verge of a second Great Depression, we have work to do in order to make the American dream real for the 80% of us who feel like we're working harder but slipping further behind. And I think if we can articulate that larger story and acknowledge the work that remains to be done, I think we'll do very well in the years ahead.
Now, whether or not you decide for run to presidency, let's set that aside. What sort of leader do you think America needs right now?
The phrases that I hear people say over and over again in every state I travel to are the phrases new leadership and getting things done. There's a sense all across the country that our national government is no longer working. The constant threats of shutdown, powerful, wealthy interests always trumping the common good and our national interests. And people know it doesn't have to be this way. They see their cities and their counties and in many states, their states being governed better, and they know that the only way we're going to fix our economy is if our national government starts to work. Compromise isn't a dirty word. We have to figure out a way to keep the government moving forward and also put it on the side of a growing middle class.
And last question, where do you think the Iowa caucus will fit into this next election? As important, less, or more than it has been in the past?
No, I think it'll be every bit as important as it has been in the past. So I think that the people of Iowa take their responsibility very, very seriously and very personally. And that's good for our country, because at a time when a lot of us feel like big money has made individual voices irrelevant, people in Iowa know they matter, and they insist on meeting each of the candidates 1 or 2 or 3 times, and they're not dissuaded by big money, beltway punditry, or the pollsters. And I think that's a very refreshing thing. So any candidate who is seeking to earn the awesome and sacred trust of the presidency of the United States has to come and engage with the people of Iowa, and that's good for our democracy.
Governor Martin OMalley at the Polk County Democrat Dinner, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Brent.
So huge thanks to Tamara Harrison for, I was the only press in that room.
That is great.
Which is pretty fun.
The way it should be.
That's right, if they know what's good for them. And a special thanks to Liz Smith with Martin OMalley's team for just being a kind person whenever she's in town, and always gets me time with Martin OMalley. So yeah, we'll see. Both of those people, Jim Webb and Martin OMalley, have said it's gonna be into May whether or not they decide to do it. And basically right now you've got the juggernaut. You've got Hillary Clinton, who has that, basically she's got the nomination unless, is basically the takeaway right now. So if you give her, I mean, let's call it another 3-4 weeks to see what happens, is I think the strategy of those two teams.
Right.
You know, if she keeps rising, maybe they'll sit out, but if some things start happening, or again, no one's ever said they're running for vice president, but
they're maneuvering.
Yeah, and let's be real, no one wants a coronation, including the highest ranking Iowa Democrats. No one wants to just hand her the nomination. They want robust debates. They want people coming to Iowa. They want to charge up even just the party faithful here in Iowa. So I think you'll see more of Webb and OMalley.
There you go. Roske, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Brent.
My pleasure, guys.
We'll be right back.